Good afternoon, Stan and Danny. How are you both doing today?
Very good, John. Thank you.
Doing
That's
great, John.
amazing. That's amazing. So we're going to be talking about the documentary Who is Stan Smith? And we have Stan Smith here with us. So that's amazing as well. So I wanted to start off with a question for Danny. What inspired you to bring this story to the people?
Yeah, I think the one credit to LeBron James, Maverick Carter, and Spring and Bill Byron, Camille Marachi, who were the executives at Spring Hill Entertainment, who essentially brought the film to me, and they said, "Hey, are you interested in this film about Stan Smith?" And I said, "Say less, 100%." And so in meeting, and then when I met Stan, it was very clear that I really wanted to tell this story, not only because it's iconic and it's a once in a lifetime story, literally, but the story tells so much more than one of a tennis champion or sneaker. It's about essentially what what the importance of life is, how important it is. The prevailing theme in the film is, the importance of our common humanity, whether it's race, class, gender, whatever it may be. We all could lock arms and do better for the world. And I think Stan was a prime example. Stan still is a prime example of the power of the people. And I think that power is in many ways imbued in the shoe. So it was an absolute joy and privilege to direct this film.
And I wanted to now ask Stan. So Stan, it not all the time when a documentary is being either filmed or looking for footage or looking for these interviews. Most of the people that have their big names on the documentary, they're not here with us. But how does it feel that till this day people will know who Stan Smith is, your story, and not only your story behind a famous shoe, but as well your story of your career and how you went over all of these obstacles and became what you wanted to be as a tennis player?
Well, it's kind of awkward to have a documentary done about your life. Certainly, my career has been fun, and it's been somewhat documented through television. And but a lot of the my career was, is there's not a lot of footage of matches I played. But to have the whole story told of your life is in one way just very nice to be able to have that to show the family as they didn't experience those things, back in 68 when I graduated from college and went on to play professional tennis. Fortunately, our kids actually got to travel. We did homeschooling, so they traveled with me for about 12 years, and Margie was homeschooling them and really allowing them to travel, which was great for me as a father, to spend that much time with them. So to answer your question, it is different to have you have your whole life down there in film, and in fact, it's not my whole life, but Danny's really captured the important part of it in my mind.
And Danny and Stan, did you guys besides all the footage that you got, Danny, and the interviews and everything, well, was Stan as well part of like the I would say the editing process? Were you working with him in how to tell the story of the documentary?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's important. One, when you're doing a documentary, I think journalistic integrity and objectivity is always important, right? So, it's hard to, I think, going into it as a director, you always kind of want the full faith of the talent to say, all right, you spend a lot of time in the immersion process, getting to learn about their story, building the trust, and then you go out and make the film. Films can get wonky when, you know, it's so subjective. Stan lived the whole story, right? And so Stan was really good about saying, all right, I think you understand my story, go to work. And so Stan was involved to the extent of, hey, really being open about everything in his story. But in the editorial process, no. And that's kind of what you want. He was respectful of that process. And we showed him the film and he dug it. And that was that.
Okay, that's amazing. And going to Stan, how was it that you how was it that how did you receive this deal for the sneakers? Because the Stan Smiths, I remember when I was I would say middle school, I had a pair as well. That was a long time ago. But how was it that you got the deal with Adidas, and how does it feel that your style of sneaker has become like a cultural phenomenon as well now, to that sneakers have become a very important part of for collectors as well?
Well, first of all, just to follow up what Danny said, I had to develop the trust that he was going to uh, portray my life in the right way, and that became apparent after we got to know each other a bit. So that was important. And then secondly, that ow, excuse me, but my computer says my battery is running low. You might want to plug in your PC. It is plugged in, so I'm not sure what the problem is. Anyway, so I hope I don't lose you. But the Adidas thing came about where Adidas wanted to get a stronger presence in the United States, and therefore I was the number one player in the world and an American. So they asked me if I could affiliate with them, and we talked about putting my picture on the tongue of the shoe, and that was Robert Hayet was already on the shoe. His name, he's a top French player that he helped design the shoe with Horst Dassler, who was Adi Dassler's son. And that was the beginning of it, where they had my picture on the shoe and my signature, and then they had the name on the side, different iterations of what took place. But that's how it all came about.
Okay, that's amazing. And Danny, were there any challenges while bringing this film to fruition? You have a lot of big name artists and podcasters there. Was there any challenges for you to bring the film to its full length?
Yeah, I think there were two main challenges in front of us when making it. One was the pandemic, right? Like we were making this as, sort of at the tail end of the pandemic, not that even the mid, in 2021, where one of the things that I wish we would have been able to capture that reflected Stan's humanitarian stance was his work with the Boys and Girls Club in Hilton Head, South Carolina. And we couldn't show any of that because there was nothing going on. Like they were only doing meetings on Zoom. So that was one, we were kind of limited physically in the things we could capture. But two, also because Stan's story goes back to the 50s and arguably the 40s when he was born. Um, you know, there were big chunks of his career where there's just not a lot of footage captured. You talk about today, Alcaraz, Naomi, Osaka, like all these players, they have footage from the first minute they pick up a tennis racket. And Stan didn't have that. So I think that was one of the main challenges of being able to illustrate much of his story creatively without all of the archival that could have existed. So those were the two main challenges. And the three was my own backhand when I was playing with Stan.
How was that backhand of yours?
It's getting better.
Good.
Okay. And in regards to Stan in this, because the question came to my head just analyzing the years. So Stan, were you part of that? Like I don't know if you were part of it because you got this deal with Adidas, but by any chance, were you not, I don't want to say involved, but did you get to see in hand that race between Nike and Adidas in this race of like getting um, athletes to be part of their brand? And how was it in those times? Because I know that in those times, brands didn't want to affiliate with like anybody, but then they started doing it little by little. Were you part of that
Yeah.
like fiasco?
Well, there the competitiveness that took place. I mean, Adidas has been around for 75 years, and I'm not sure how long Nike's been around, but Adidas was the best brand by far of any of the brands for sports. And then Nike got involved, and all these other brands. I know that Adidas has had some issues with some of the brands that have copied, particularly my shoe, and sued them, and actually won the suit because it was almost identical. And so every brand now has a white tennis shoe, and a lot of them look like mine. And I guess that's a compliment, but at the same time, it's a little frustrating to see other brands, just building upon 50 years of history that has taken place. But that, you know, I'm used to competing in tennis, and certainly this is another area of competition that's taking place. That people are trying to get a more percentage of the marketplace, and that's certainly happening in shoes. And the one thing that I just noticed the other day, I don't know why, but just that I was at this golf tournament. There's thousands of people there, and almost every single person's wearing a tennis shoe. And so the tennis shoe market is huge, and that's just not in the U.S., but it's everywhere in the world. So it is a big market, and it's a competitive market. And uh, you know, like I say, I'm competitive as I was as an athlete, but hopefully, the companies have to figure out new things. And then the ironic thing about that is that my shoe is an old thing. I mean, it's exactly the same look as it was literally in 1965 when it was created, in 1972 when my name went on it. So it's kind of an outlier to a certain extent. It's not a new thing. There's nothing new about it. But maybe that's part of uh, the specialness of that shoe.
And this would be my last question for both Danny and yourself, Stan. If you guys could describe this documentary with one word, what would it be?
I can go if you want, or Stan, you can go.
Go ahead. Go ahead. I can't think of one.
I mean, one word, I would probably describe it as inspirational. That's how I felt making it, and I don't like to throw that word around lightly. I think it's often thrown around in our current social media world that we live in, but this 90 minutes of a journey, most people leave feeling pretty inspired about the possibilities.
I agree. How about yourself, Stan?
Wow. Like I say, I can't think of a word that could best describe the totality of the experience. Um, Maybe grateful.
Amazing words chosen for this film. So Danny, Stan, thank you very much for giving us the time to talk about who is Stan Smith, and hope everybody enjoys the documentary as well as I did. Thank you very much.
Thank you.